Welcome gamers to this week's vlog. It's been an exciting week for me with lots of trophies earned, 3 platinums including my 300th milestone, so more of that shortly, and also a platinum for Independence Day for the Ultimate Trophy Hunters Challenge. Last weekend there was a local air show with lots of World War II planes flying over the house all weekend, including the Red Arrows doing a display, so a little snippet of that shortly as well. Also, we've had another new community member join, and there's a couple of really cool questions that they've set me, so I'll be answering those later in the vlog. So without further ado, let's get into it. Sunday afternoon in the garden relaxing, watching Red Arrows do a display over our house. Absolutely fantastic. My first platinum this week was for a game called A Short Hike. This short open world exploration game was a lot of fun to play. You play as a bird who is visiting her auntie, with the premise of the game being very simple in that you're just tasked with making your way to the highest point on the island called Hawk Peak to get a cell phone signal to then be able to call your mother. It's a pretty simple concept to complete the game and see the end credits. However, to be able to reach the top of the mountain, you will also need to collect golden feathers, which will improve your ability to fly and climb, which is extremely helpful in being able to reach the top. Along your journey, you will also meet other animal characters to interact with that give you a variety of different side quests that will reward you with the golden feathers. The side quests vary and include activities like finding lost items, fishing, beach volleyball and racing, and are all pretty easy but provide some additional gameplay mechanics to make it a bit more interesting. The trophy list is pretty much tied to completing the various side quests, and the game will take you about 4 to 5 hours to complete, and I do recommend giving it a go. My second platinum this week is for Aliens Fireteam Elite, which I lined up to be my 300th platinum milestone, and myself and community member Vidbacker, who had actually lined it up to be his 350th platinum milestone, both earned the platinum and 100% at the same time during a couple of co-op sessions this week. I've shared a few details in previous vlogs as I've been playing through the game, but now that platinum is in the bag, I thought I'd share my overall thoughts. So if you don't know much about the game but you're a fan of the film franchise, then Aliens Fireteam Elite is set in 2202, which, as you can see from the franchise timeline on screen that includes the games, films and upcoming TV series, is set towards the end of the overall timeline. The game sees you playing as a colonial marine aboard the USS Endeavour that picks up a distress call from a refinery space station called Katanga that is orbiting the planet LV-895, where as part of a 3-man fire team you're sent aboard Katanga to investigate, only to discover that the station has been overrun by xenomorphs who have wiped out all but one of the station's inhabitants, a Weyland-Yutani scientist, Dr. Timothy Honecker. After you rescue Dr. Honecker, you find out that the scientists had discovered a batch of alien eggs on the nearby planet, along with a mutagenic substance referred to as the pathogen. The scientists then started to perform experiments using the pathogen to secretly breed xenomorphs, resulting in a number of various mutations that eventually managed to break containment and establish a hive on the station. As the story progresses, the Marines go down to the planet to investigate further, where engineer ruins are discovered and the Weyland-Yutani facility's incumbent mother AI, called Cynthia, is attempting to launch a pathogen-loaded Juggernaut starship that is destined to fly on autopilot back to Earth. Your fire team is then sent on a number of additional missions to stop the launch of the ship and then return to the space station and set the self-destruct to destroy the alien hive. The gameplay is great fun to play in co-op, with 4 separate campaigns, each comprising of 3 different missions. There are 5 different difficulty levels, with the first being casual, which has no specific trophies attached to it and is most likely designed as a tutorial or for players that only wish to play through the game to experience the story. After this, the following 4 difficulty levels of standard, intense, extreme and insane all have a separate trophy for completing them with no difficulty stacking. So for the Platinum, there is a minimum of 4 complete playthroughs required. However, you will also need to earn a lot of XP to unlock additional perk slots and upgrade weapons and classes, plus also find additional perks and equipment that become critical for you to be able to survive the ever increasingly difficult onslaught of xenomorphs and rogue Weyland-Yutani synthetics that are under the Cynthia's control. There are also 7 different classes to experiment with that all have their own unique abilities and equipment. For trophies, you need to reach a maximum rank with 5 of the available classes as well as 30 different weapons, plus also meet a certain number of different kill requirements for some other miscellaneous trophies. The game's overall difficulty has clearly been designed to be played with other people in co-op. However, they have also included AI bots that can fill the places if you wish to play alone or if you just want to play with one friend. However, as good as the AI surprisingly actually is, you are likely to struggle on the hardest difficulties without having the full coordination of your whole fire team, and it's advisable to plan and go for the Platinum with 2 friends that you can regularly play with. I really enjoyed my experience playing through Aliens Fireteam Elite, and being such a fan of the film franchise, it was great to see that they've incorporated all of the different films and there's Easter eggs that nod towards all of them. So I highly recommend you giving it a go, and if you've got some friends to play with, then why not go for the Platinum Trophy, because it's very challenging and very rewarding once you manage to achieve it. So it's July 4th, Independence Day. And I have 1 trophy left in RoboCop Rogue City, which I set up a while ago because for my Ultimate Trophy Hunters Challenge I need to pop the Platinum in a game that is set in the USA, and of course RoboCop is set in Detroit. So let's boot the game up where I left off and let's go and get that last trophy to pop the Platinum. So I should be fairly close to where the turret is that I need to deactivate and hack, which is what the final trophy is that is required. So I'm just going to walk through a few rooms, I believe, to kill a few enemies and get to where the turret is located. The game's very enjoyable actually, very nostalgic. It's set after the first film and it has got some nice Easter eggs in it. My only gripe with the film is that it can be a little bit slow to traverse around, especially after you've completed missions and you have to backtrack. Because RoboCop can't run, he can only walk a little bit faster. So yeah, enjoyable game, glad I played it. This was free on PS Plus a couple of months ago. So I just got to find where this turret is now. I'm just going to heal because... here we go, here's the turret. So that nearby there'll be a laptop which I have to hack, which will then do it, but I'm assuming... Get that way that I will have to get shot while I'm on my way to the turret. I can see where the turret is there. I can see the beam, there it is. So I'm going to have to rush around and get to the thing. It's going to start shooting me. With the laptop, hack. There we go. Hopefully got enough health to finish hacking. There we go, that's hacked. Maybe used against you. That is the final trophy. And there you go, to serve and protect. That is the platinum. And that is now platinum 301 for my account. So a quick recap of the trophies I've been earning this week. Starting off last Sunday with Colour Guardians on the PS4. This is a game that's on my backlog that I'm cleaning up as part of my Trophy Hunters challenge. And then I moved on to A Short Hike to get the platinum on that. Then I had my co-op session with Vidbacker on Aliens Fireteam Elite, where we both got our milestones all completed. I then moved back onto Colour Guardians, get a few more trophies, and I'll show some gameplay footage of that and give my thoughts on that game once I got the platinum, maybe in a future vlog. I also had one last session on Aliens Fireteam Elite with Vidbacker to get the 100%. We had one trophy outstanding to get to level 10 on hardcore mode, which is part of the DLC. And then I moved on to Colour Guardians for just a few more trophies before doing Robocop Rogue City for the Ultimate Trophy Hunters Challenge Independence Day Challenge. And when it comes to the Ultimate Trophy Hunters Challenge, we're now halfway through the challenge, being that we're now into July. So I'm planning on a big update to include all the stats for myself, as well as all the people from my community that are also taking part. I'm currently sort of collating all the stats and getting it all edited together, and I hope to have that all done, completed and ready for upload midweek around Wednesday time. So watch out on the channel for that as a bonus video. This week's community questions come from new community member Sabriel5076, and welcome to the community. So the first question is, a lot of games require extensive research when it comes to build and mechanics. Do you prefer to figure it out by yourself or reading the guide? So Sabriel, it really does depend on what I'm playing the game for. So if it's a game that I'm playing specifically for a challenge, and as you know by watching this channel, you know I do a lot of trophy challenges, it may be then that I want to optimize my playthrough to make sure that I'm getting the most efficient time for that challenge. So I will always look at a guide just to make sure if there's any missables, check whether there's anything that needs the guide, and if it doesn't really need a guide and there's nothing missable, then I won't use one. But if there's highly missable, that means if you don't do it, you're going to have multiple playthroughs on a game that I may not be interested in having multiple playthroughs, then yeah, I'll probably follow a guide and try to optimize my time with that game. However, there are some games that I really do just want to play myself, nothing to do with challenges, and I'm really excited to play, and on those I like to try and have a blind playthrough before checking the guide and doing a cleanup, because if that means I need to play a game a second time, if it's a game I'm excited for, normally that's okay. So an example of that is Elden Ring. So when Elden Ring was first announced and the teaser trailer came out, I just thought it looked absolutely superb, and being a sort of veteran Soulsborne sort of player, playing all the other From Software games, I was really excited for the latest iteration. So when it actually released, I wasn't actually in a position to be able to buy it and play it on release. So I had to avoid all of the sort of different things on YouTube, all the different things on the internet, and just try to make sure I didn't have any spoilers about the game at all. Because when I did get around to playing it, I wanted to make sure I had a complete blind playthrough. It was tough, but eventually after the first sort of month or two, things died down and it was easy to avoid. But when I did get round to starting it, fellow community member Vidbacker was in the same situation. He wanted to play, and he wanted to play through blind, and had also avoided all the social media about it. So we decided to play through at the same time, but we were doing it solo. Now what we then did is we shared each other's screen with each other. So I would be playing as my build in my world, playing solo, but I could see his world and what he was playing on a separate screen, and he did the same for me. So we could move through the world together and explore areas together, but in our own worlds, playing it solo, so to speak. And the reason for that is that we didn't want to miss out on any of the sort of unique pickups. So if you were entering someone else's world, you couldn't get the unique pickups. You'd have to find it in your own world, which would mean you'd have to play through that area again in your own world, doubling up the time. So it just made it easier for us to just play through solo and just share our experience together. And it was a really fun way of doing it, especially when it got to the bosses. So I had picked a build that was more of a battle mage using magic, and Vidbacker picked more of a melee build, sort of focusing on strength and bleed. So we had completely contrasting different builds and ways that we were playing the game. So certain bosses were more susceptible to certain builds, and some were very tough with certain builds. And it was very fun to see who would struggle. So we would normally actually try to start the boss at the same time, and then we sort of have a bit of a race as to who could beat the boss first. And then if I beat the boss first, I could then watch Vidbacker struggle and try to beat it using his build, and vice versa. If I was struggling and he just blasted through very quickly with his build, he could then sit and watch me struggling to try and do it with my magic build. And it was a really fun way to do it. But we both got through the game, both completed everything in doing it in that way. So we had a complete shared experience, which was very unique, and it's something that I would definitely do again. Now, when it comes to other sort of like games, it depends on the type of game whether I really would use a guide or not. Like I say, if I'm in a trophy challenge, I'll sort of contemplate it. If I'm not in a trophy challenge and it's a game I'm excited for, I'll always have a blind playthrough. However, sometimes I'm not doing a challenge, but I start a game and you start to get the impression that I'm not enjoying this enough that I want a second playthrough, and I want to get through this game and make it more efficient. So there are occasions where I don't intend on a blind playthrough. I start one and essentially I then revert to using a guide later on through the game, depending on how I progress with it. So I'm open to both and I enjoy playing both ways. I hope that answers your first question. So the second question is, what game that you've played felt more like a chore than enjoyment? So it's a good question, and it was actually quite hard to come up with something because I enjoy most games, but I've got 3 examples which I'm going to give you. The first being Oxenfree. Now, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the game. What I'm saying is it sort of outstayed its welcome and did become a bit of a chore towards the end. So to give some context to that, when you play Oxenfree, there's 3 different ways you can play the game in terms of the dialogue that you choose. You can go through and be nice to everyone and get the good ending, which was my first playthrough and I really enjoyed. You can go through and be really horrible and nasty to people and get the bad ending, which again I went through and it started to get a bit tedious. It was a fun to be a bit of an a-hole at the beginning, but you start to sort of get a bit sort of tired of it. And if that had been it, I probably would have walked away thinking that was about right. That was 2 playthroughs, contrasting ways of doing it, and that would have been fine. But for the Platinum, you also had to do a 3rd playthrough, and on that, you have to just basically ignore everyone. And for the type of game it is, which is very dialogue heavy, and it's all about friendships and everything, to walk around going up to every single conversation that you're supposed to have in a game, and when people ask you stuff or speak to you, you just remain silent and ignore them, sort of went against what the game is supposed to be about, and essentially it got really tedious. It's not a hugely long game, but just playing through and just not actually saying a single word in the game and not responding to anyone, just being silent and them getting annoyed with you for doing that, just felt like a chore by the end of it. And I could have really done with that 3rd playthrough not being necessary for the Platinum. I did get through it and I did do it, but yeah, that's an example where it felt like a bit of a chore and I wasn't enjoying it, but for the 3rd playthrough, not for the first 2. The second example I'm going to give is for Hotline Miami. Now, I think this only started to feel like it was a bit of a chore, mainly because of how I started playing it. And that was because I was doing it for a trophy challenge rather than just doing it in my own time. And there was the pressure of the challenge and trying to get it done quickly because it was a team event and I didn't want to let people down. And I started to get a bit burnt out at the time and I wasn't really in the mood for it. And once I started it, I had to complete it. So there was the extra pressure on me to make sure I got it done. But I got to the point where I just couldn't continue with it. I was sort of struggling with a couple of the areas. It's very fast paced. It's very, very repetitive. And as fun as it was to start with and how I enjoyed the music, it started to sort of become a bit of a chore and the music started to annoy me that I had to turn it off in game so I wouldn't have the music playing. I then started to sort of like have to repeat the levels and started to get a bit frustrated, and I just had to think, no, I need to walk away from this for the time being and just do something else because it did start to become a bit of a chore. I left it a few months. I ended up doing something else for the challenge anyway and finished the whole team challenge, but I then went back to it to do a cleanup later on in the year, and essentially when I picked it back up again, I enjoyed it for a bit, but I was in the mindset I just need to get this cleaned up and just get the platinum and move on. So the second part of doing it, the frustration had gone and it was more just like I need to focus, get this done. So it did feel a bit of a chore to finish getting it done. Overall, it's an okay game. I sort of enjoyed it, but it did become a bit of a chore to get the platinum in the end. Now my third example is Kentucky Route Zero. Now this is a game that I was really intrigued by, and essentially I had seen like recommended by a number of people, and I thought I'll give it a go. Went in blind and I just really didn't get on with it. It was something that maybe my mindset when I was playing it, maybe I just wasn't focused enough. I've struggled with like the map and moving around and that, and it just got to the point where I just wasn't enjoying it as much. And if I hadn't been a trophy hunter, I'd have just stopped and moved on. But because I am a trophy hunter and I'm a completionist and I do like to try and complete games that I start, I knew it wasn't a long game, so I thought, do you know what, I'm just going to persevere with it. So the final part of it, it's only a few hours long anyway, and that did feel a little bit of a chore. And if it had been a long game, if we were talking 20 plus hours and in the first couple of hours I wasn't enjoying it, then I wouldn't have gone back to it. The fact that it was only like a 4 or 5 hour game, and in the first hour I thought it's not going to take much to get through it, so I'll just put up with it, get through, get the platinum, move on. So again, that's another one that I found a little bit of a chore towards the end and didn't enjoy it as much as I'd hoped to. So I hope that answers your second question. So that's it for another week's vlog, and I really hope you enjoyed it. I just want to take this opportunity to say a very big thank you to the gaming legends you can currently see on screen who are my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to join the Discord community and get involved and ask me questions that I will answer in future vlogs, then please follow the link in the description for my Patreon. I also just wanted to say it's now been 6 months since I launched my YouTube channel with weekly content, and I have to say I've really enjoyed the journey so far, and mainly because of this community that I've been building, and I appreciate every single like, every single subscriber, and I really do enjoy reading all of your comments. So please continue to leave comments. Let me know what games you're playing, let me know what platinums you're earning, maybe give me some suggestions for future content that you'd like to see. With all that being said, then please enjoy your games, take care and look after yourselves.